Are you dating a girl right now and she said something about her past that doesn't sit well with you? Maybe she told you that body count doesn't matter or it's private and I don't want to tell you. And you're left wondering, am I being lied to or is she hiding something? Well, a lot of men have commented in my YouTube videos asking me, Christian, how can I tell if a girl is lying about her body count? And that's why I made this video. And I'm going to break down 7 subtle signs that her sexual history is a red flag, even if she won't tell you the number or the details. Because the patterns I'm about to share with you will tell you and show you the truth. So without a further ado, let's begin with the first sign, which is she says, I don't really care about body count. This in of itself is a disqualifier, and by the way, all of the 7 signs I'm going to cover here are all disqualifiers. You should always walk away. But where there's one, there's more. If she tells you, I don't really care about body count, it simply translates to, mine is high and I don't want it to be a problem between us. She's ashamed and doesn't want to tell you the truth. How can you interpret this? It's simply a deflection, masked as openness. She's trying to neutralize a judgment so you don't apply it to her. But what it reveals is this. Because women who actually have protected their bodies and do care, because sex means something to them, they value bonding, purity, exclusivity. But women like this, who have been around, so to speak, feel shame. And they do not want to discuss that topic out of fear of rejection from you. So, how is this a red flag? Simple. This is indicative of a woman who's actively promiscuous. That it's not just a past thing, and it's her current value system. So she doesn't value sexual monogamy, love, loyalty. She doesn't have sexual integrity. At the very least, if she's not promiscuous, this would also indicate that she hasn't fully healed from her past, so she wants it to be hidden from you. She has elements of shame and guilt based on the lifestyle she's lived, and because she hasn't taken accountability for that, she doesn't want to tell you openly, look, this is my body count, because she's afraid she's going to lose you. And if you can't be honest with someone, you can't have a relationship. So if she doesn't really care about body count, that's fine. You don't need to care about her anymore and send her on her way. The second sign that her sexual history is a red flag is she doesn't ask about your past. This is one that so many men overlook, and a lot of clients I've worked with over the years, case studies I've done that some of my older clients and subscribers may have been familiar with on my YouTube channel. When you see these cases where a girl has a massive, body count and she's cheating on him and all the signs were there, go back to the beginning. That girl never asks about his past. So if you're dating a girl and she doesn't care about your body count, how long have you been single for? Tell me about all the women you've been with. What lessons did you learn from your past? How many relationships have you had? How did they end? What happened in them? If a woman isn't serious about asking about your sexual history, she doesn't see you as someone she can bond with. This translates to a woman not thinking long term. And what's worse is she doesn't want you asking the same question back. If you're dating a girl and she doesn't want to ask about your past, that's a problem. When I met my woman, and I say this all the time, I say it to my clients and I teach them this, you ask the body count at the beginning. When I had my first call after I matched with my woman, I've mentioned this in all the videos, the same thing. I said, look, I'm very honest about my sexual history. I've had different relationships, but I had a 1 body count in a relationship, and it's a shame. I wish I could have given my virginity to my wife, but I couldn't. That's my 1 body count. I'm being honest about this. Tell me about your past. And you know what she said to me? I'm so glad you asked me this right now at the beginning, because if you didn't ask me, I was going to ask you soon enough anyway, because I'm not going to waste my time with a guy who's been around the block with different women. Indicative that she values her purity. And what did she tell me? My body count is also 1. I had 1 boyfriend, made the mistake. I wish I could have given my virginity to my husband, but you know what? I was young, it was 1 boyfriend, and I thought I was going to be with him long term. And that told me, Okay, so she kind of does value her purity. It wasn't from a hookup. It was like me. It was one relationship. We both learned the lesson. Now we can't judge each other. We have the same sexual history, so we can bond safely. But we got it out of the way day one of talking, before we even had a first date. That's the power of this. Get it out the way at the beginning. And she cared about my past as much as I cared about hers. That's why it worked, so we could have a future together. Capiche? That's how it works. So, how do you interpret this righteously? A woman who's serious about you will naturally be curious about your past. She'll ask about your habits, your lifestyle, your boundaries, because she wants alignment. And if a girl is not asking about your past, she doesn't see you as that guy she wants. Some women are going on a first date and they're dating 5 other men, or they're promiscuous, or they're running from an ex, or they have problems, as men do this to women. This is what you have to filter and vet, gentlemen. If she doesn't want to know about your past, it is a huge red flag that she's probably still living her past. Because this reveals that she's not vetting because she's simply not planning a future with you. And the method that I just told you that I did, I teach that to my clients. One of my clients who's married, he applied the same thing. One of my closest friends, business partner, he did the same thing with his girl. They got it out the way at the beginning. And a lot of my clients who are still in that vetting process, when they match with the girl online or they approach and get the number and they talk to the girl, they're asking it right away. And if the girl's not giving them a solid answer or it doesn't align, they walk. You've got to pay attention to these subtleties. If a woman isn't digging deep into who you are as a man, she doesn't want to know your sexual past, what does that tell you? Because it's a red flag, because a woman that doesn't ask doesn't care. And if she doesn't care, you walk away. And this is even worse if you're in a relationship. Because some women are shy and they might take a couple dates to ask you, they might take a few weeks, but they will surely ask you before you get serious. If you've been with a girl for 3 months, 6 months, a year, and she hasn't asked you about your past, and you haven't asked her about hers, I'd question how serious you both are about each other. You're both going to have a wonderful surprise when you find out the truth. Number 3, the third sign her sexual history is a red flag, even if she won't tell you, is that she normalizes casual sex. Watch out for these phrases. If she says, well, hooking up is just part of dating, sex is just sex, people are too uptight about it. How do you interpret that? Pretty simple. That mindset doesn't come from theory. That comes from lived experience. A girl who values her purity would never say such a thing. She'd be disgusted by that lifestyle. Or a woman who lives differently now would say differently. So it reveals that she's likely engaged in multiple casual encounters and has damaged her ability to pair bond. Now, she's just not wired to view sex as something sacred. Because she's dirtied herself so much in that lifestyle, she can't look at sex as something clean. So if a girl's not telling you her body count, but she's, well, casual sex is okay, people can do what they want, yeah. She's telling you where she stands on. Good women, do you know what they say? It's disgusting. You know what my girl said when I met her? That's disgusting. And as I mentioned before, she said to me about the past thing, she told me, I'm so glad you didn't do any hookups because I wouldn't be with you if you had. She said, why would I? I've only been with one guy who was in a relationship. That's what I can offer a man. I deserve the same in return. I wouldn't be with a guy who's been around the block. I'm like, damn, that's a good woman. Same thing, that's my standard too. I can only receive what I'm willing to offer, which is what I have. And that's why it worked out. But you guys are not asking this question early on, so you have these relationships where you're in limbo, you don't really know where you stand, you're not aligned, because you're not having truthful conversations, so it's like shaky. But when you do have an honest conversation, everything stabilizes. And you know, can we stay? Do we walk? So watch out for girls who normalize casual sex, because good women are against it. If she's for it, or she's neutral, that tells you where she stands. And it's a red flag because it reveals that she's desensitized. And that desensitization affects pair bonding, trust, loyalty, and long-term emotional depth. Red flag number 4, the fourth sign that reveals that her sexual history is bad news. She uses the no judgment mantra. If she says any phrases like, I don't judge anyone's past. We all have a history. People grow. She's projecting loud and clear. Translation: I want to keep my past hidden. And if I can make shame off limits, I never have to deal with it. Because at the end of the day, if you're going to commit to someone, you need to know about their sexual past. What if they have an STD? Right? What if they can give you an illness? I mean, just even from a health perspective, it's something you should know. So she doesn't want you judging her past. She doesn't want you judging her history. And she's claiming that she's grown. But if she had grown, she would have told you her body count. She would have sat down and explained everything. So how can you interpret this? Well, forgiveness is real, but so is accountability. Women who constantly play the no judgment card are usually dodging truth, not healing from it. And this is a red flag because her attitude reveals that she hasn't made peace with her own choices. Or worse, she doesn't see them as mistakes. If she can't look at her hookup lifestyle and think, what have I done? It's wrong. That tells you how she views sex. And unless there's a change of heart there, you can't commit to a woman like that. Because I've worked with men who have a higher body count. And as long as you give it enough time, you can heal. You can move on from that. But sin is sin and it still carries that weight behind it. But unless there's a change of mind, there's true repentance. You change your attitude towards it, your value system won't change. So if she has hooked up 6 months ago, but she hasn't turned from it emotionally, spiritually, she doesn't see it as wrong, she hasn't changed. And that's why some of these women won't tell you their body count. Oh, it's, you can't judge people. It's, everyone changes. Everyone has a history. It's like, no, not everyone has a history to a different extent, right? But everyone should be accountable. And if you can't have a truthful relationship, can you? So, on your bike, mate. So that's number 4. Number 5, one that's overlooked by a lot of men. I mentioned this in other videos. Her friend circle is wild. Translation: what you're looking at is to see her future if you commit to her. The best indication of future behavior is past behavior, because most people don't change or grow. How do you interpret this? If all of her friends are party girls, they sleep around, they're known to bounce from guy to guy, that's not a background noise, that's environmental programming. If she's close to them, she's prone to engaging in that lifestyle. Maybe she came from that lifestyle and changed, but if she's keeping those women close, what does it reveal? That she's still tied to that lifestyle. And even if she's not doing it right now, she hasn't left that world. And it should raise alarm bells. So if she's not telling you her body count, and you're looking at the girlfriends and there's a pattern there, maybe you hear from, being around town, you're in college, news travels, right? So does reputation. You'll find out. So how does this become a red flag? Well, simple. Birds of a feather flock together. If she had truly grown, she wouldn't associate with immoral women. Good women who value their sexual purity, who are serious about finding a good man for the right reasons, you just look at their lifestyle. Look at who they hang with. Look at who they chill with. And it tells you volumes more than they could ever tell you about what they believe. Look at what a woman does, not just what she says. And if she hangs around good, godly women, that's a good indicator. If all of her friends are hoes, well, you telling me she's not one? Simple, but don't overlook it. Second to last, number 6. Subtle sign that a sexual history is a red flag, if she won't tell you, is that she's vague about past relationships. Gentlemen, if she uses phrases like, it just didn't work out, we grew apart, I don't want to talk about it. When you ask about her boyfriends, oh, what happened with your relationships, how long have you been single? If she's not giving you an in-depth analysis and she's just being very vague or bleak, this communicates that there's a lack of ownership, means a lack of growth. If she can't speak openly about how things ended and what she learned, she's either hiding something or hasn't matured through it. What does that reveal? She might not differentiate between hookups, flings, or relationships. And if she doesn't see a difference, you won't be treated differently. And why does this become a red flag? Simple. Because you deserve a woman that can be honest and transparent about her past. And if she can't be open to you, walking away is the only option. Because there's something there that she's hiding. Whether it's shame, whether it's guilt, maybe she still harbors feelings for one of the guys she was involved with. Maybe she's not over him. Because when you bond sexually to multiple people, it does leave scars. It does leave wounds. It does leave memories that you play back in your mind. And if she can't honestly tell you what went wrong, oh, all my exes are toxic, they're all the same. I mean, those are all things that guys know to watch out for. But if she's vague about her past relationships and she's not giving you or telling you about her body count, and as I said at the beginning of the video, where there's one red flag here, there's more. She might be vague about her past relationships, but then at the same time, she might say casual sex is a good thing, or neutral on it. She shouldn't judge. So the alarm bell flashes brighter and brighter. And then maybe she doesn't ask you about her past, so it gets even weirder. She might even flat out tell you, I don't care about body count. So when you pair all these things together, a pattern starts to form. Well, there's obviously something about past that she ain't gonna tell me. Maybe she had 5 relationships. Maybe it was hookups. Maybe it was one night stands. Maybe she's so ashamed of what it was. But if she's vague about her past relationships, but then she's apparently serious about getting to know a man, or she told you she dates to marry, or she really wants to find a good man, but she's being vague about her past, how can she expect to have an open future? She's not painting a full picture, is she? So women like this that have been very promiscuous, or they still are, they'll be vague. Because they might not actually have relationships. They were probably just hookups. And they will lie and say, well, it just didn't work out. We grew apart. And they won't give details because it wasn't even a relationship. They were just hookups. But she'll lie to the guy and say, yeah, I had 3 boyfriends. They weren't 3 boyfriends. They were 3 guys you were getting backshotted by. Oh yeah, I dated 4 guys, but it just didn't work out. No, you weren't dating them. You were getting pounded. And you're lying to this sweet guy, saying they were boyfriends to make out you were in a relationship and that you had some dignity. No. There's always something going on here, and I've seen the pattern over the years. Watch out. And last but not least, she refuses to tell you her body count. I mean, save the last till best, right? But it's the most obvious one. See a lot of guys comment on YouTube, email me. Guys will comment in my school community. They'll ask me on the group calls, clients I've worked with, emails I get. How can I tell about her body count? But you can't know for sure, Christian. It's like, yes, you can. Some girls will tell you their body count. Fantastic, instant disqualifier if it's bad. But if she refuses to tell you her body count, that is the answer of all answers here, guys. What are the phrases to watch out for? If she says, why does it matter? That's private. You shouldn't even be asking me that. I don't want to tell you. How do you interpret that? Simple. Secrecy is never a good sign in relationships. A woman who's lived with integrity isn't ashamed of her past. She's willing to talk about it even if it's uncomfortable. Especially if she's healed and she's moved on from it. Why would she be ashamed? That's not her anymore, right? That's the key here. It reveals that she either knows it's high and doesn't want to lose you, or she doesn't believe she owes you that level of honesty. And both are red flags. She's too afraid to be vulnerable. And it's not your job to fix, change, or save a woman who's just dysfunctional like that. It's a red flag because without transparency, you just can't have a relationship. And a woman who hides her sexual history, I can promise you, is hiding way more than that. Where there's one red flag, there's more. Maybe it's not just sexual dysfunction or something off with her there. Maybe there's more. Other things about her that she doesn't want you to know. These are the consequences of the modern world. Unfortunately, people are deeply involved in this lifestyle. But if you're dating a girl or you first start talking to her, try what I said. Be honest about your body count. Discuss it. Go deep into the topic. And if she doesn't want to, that reveals something about her. She doesn't care about body count. doesn't ask about your past, thinks casual sex is normal, uses the no judgment mantra, her friend circle isn't good, she's vague about past relationships, and if she refuses to tell you her body count, don't waste weeks or months trying to date her, trying to get a different answer out of her. That should give you enough data to know that there's something dark or filthy about her past that makes her incapable to be honest and vulnerable with you. That is not a woman you commit to. That is not a woman you have a family with. That is a woman that you send on her way and you wash your hands from and you walk, and that's it, done. And that is the video for today. I think it's quite self-explanatory, but for the guys who are maybe younger, you have more insecurities, or even older men, if you've been burnt by a few women in your past and you're like, I don't want to go through this again, and you've learnt the lesson, ask about her past. And if you see any of these patterns, walk away. And with that said, for those of you who would like to learn more about relationships, I invite you to join my school community, where you've got access to the community, group calls, different courses, and I just recently made my audiobook exclusively free. So if you are somebody who has been a long-term subscriber of my work, you've bought my book, the digital, the paperback, and you prefer the audiobook version and you want to hear my voice, I recorded the audiobook version of my book where I've added even more details, so you can find it exclusively in the school community. It's included in the price, you get it free access, and yeah, there's a lot in there about red flags that I talk about, so if you want to learn more about that, that'll benefit you. There's different courses in here, a weekly newsletter, and an optional one-on-one call with me at your leisure. So if you want more help and guidance, it could be an option for you. I'll see you inside. And with that said, I'll see you all in the next video. Let me know if you enjoyed this, if you have any questions, or share some experiences of yours down below about the body count topic. And I'll see you all in the next one.